What is up, everybody? It is time to learn about cold email. Is it not working? It's in the community. You may have to have said you were going to attend first. It's not a Zoom. Oh, my presenter is having trouble getting in. He's trying a different browser, guys. Sorry. Believe me, you don't want to hear me present about cold email. You want to hear Taylor present. How's everybody doing in the meantime?
Fantastic. Very excited.
Good. Good. I'll tell him. They all say they are very excited. Okay, so worst case scenario, what do we do? Maybe I call him, literally just hold up. Oh, dude. We changed the domain. Click that. Then go in. I think I figured it out, guys. Oh, fuck. He's in. Is he on? No.
There we go.
Yeah, now you sound like a robot. Yeah, you got a red and yellow dot, but all right. He's here. Only 4 minutes behind schedule. We got a nice crew to listen to you talk about cold email. So I am, these topics everyone wants to learn about, like I'm not the best person to explain them because I'm not the technician. Taylor is the technician. I got connected with Taylor because I was trying to do this, what is required from cold email in 2024 or 2025 back at the end of last year. And I was like setting up all these domains, doing all this, I just couldn't believe how much of a fucking pain in the ass it was. And somebody hooked us up. I forget who. And Diana was talking about how she didn't even have patience to do it. And spoke to Taylor and he's like, by the way, I set up a business that does this because no one else does. So that, I want to bring him on to talk about it because everyone wants to do cold email. A lot of people should be doing cold email. Some shouldn't, but even if you shouldn't, it's I think it's important to know what it takes to actually do it and what your options are today. So that's the purpose of this month's training. And Taylor's got a whole presentation. I will turn it over to you, my man. Let's get started.
Awesome. Am I still sounding like a robot by any chance?
You're good, dude. Everybody's good with Taylor's audio, right?
Cool. Yep, looks like it. All righty. So hopping in, basically the one thing thinking about this talk a little bit was that we send millions and millions of emails a month, and we're very much a high volume kind of type of cold email agency. And so this one's going to be unique because I tried to think about it more from like if I was brand new and know what I know now about how to send millions of emails a month, how could I help somebody who just wants to send 1,000 emails a month, right? And a lot of the things that'll come into play are like offer and all of that and so on, right? But yeah, so a little bit of background if you don't know who I am at all, right? We've been working with Adam for a while now, ever since about a year actually now. We'll hit a year in a few weeks. And we helped them launch RB2B in March of this year. And we've been doing a great job. We've been stoked about everything. Some of the results were even surprising for myself, right? And so if you look at some of the quick things just from like a pure analytics standpoint, right? Like about 42% of all of everybody who has signed up and paid for RB2B, we have touched them before they signed up with a cold email. And, you know, if you look at just straight up ROI based on cash collected, it's a 12 multiple. But if you look at like LTV or like SaaS multiples or anything like that, then obviously there's multiples on top of that multiple. So it's going great for everybody, which is awesome. You know, 21% of all of those signups are from just pure outbound. 15% are just from people through inbound led outbound, where they visited RB2B site. We emailed them and then they signed up afterwards. And then 6% is actually from a waitlist that they built themselves as well. But it's not always like this. So this is a client we were running last week. Okay, you can see here that, and I'll actually make it bigger just so you can see it just slightly better. You'll see here, we're getting a 10% reply rate on their campaigns, which is stellar. We look for like a 1.5% reply rate on campaigns to gauge deliverability. So we're delivering like crazy, but you can see in interested that it's not working, right? So like, what's the difference between this client and people like Adam? And I'm going to help break down exactly how you can change that. And another thing, don't be worried about this client. Like, this is where we help a lot of our clients, is like helping them figure out their offer and all of that kind of stuff, right? And so for the next 30 minutes, here's kind of roughly what we're going to be going over together, is kind of just how exactly we got started, what led us to start working with RB2B, why I think what we're doing is actually working within the marketplace. And then I'm going to go into very much like, I'm actually going to give you a full playbook on what I would do if you wanted to send only 1,000 cold emails a day. What's the tech stack that you need? What are the settings that you need to be able to have in order to do that, which I've never really gone over, that kind of stuff. Once again, this is very much framed around someone who's possibly new. So hopefully if that's you, that this really helps you out. Go over some of my philosophies in like regards to testing, and then really like where would I focus on all of these things, and then what are the most important things that come into play, right? And so once again, if you don't know anything about me, founded Sales Automation Systems at the beginning of last year. We just hit 2.8 million in annual recurring revenue last month. The month in November, it looks like we're going to come in at about 3.5. So we're growing really, really fast. We're sometimes doubling month over month. Business has been moving quite a bit. And the craziest thing in my brain is that it's only me and one other full-time guy. And we have armies of VAs and AI automations to help us manage, you know, almost 8,000 domains that we do for our clients, right? And so hopping in a little bit more to kind of the story and so on, is that, like Adam said, when we originally met, he was like, dude, I don't want to have to deal with domains. I don't want to have to deal with infrastructure, right? And I remember like looking at RB2B and being like, dude, you have Santosh. The guy's been at ZoomInfo. The guy's been at Apollo. The guy's been at Gong. Like, why the heck do you need me to help out with any sort of like lead generation, right? And I kind of knew the answer to it, right? But he said the same thing. It was like, dude, well, the cold email stuff is just changing too much. Like 3 months ago, you used to be able to just launch 2,000 emails a day from your work account and you'd be fine. Now, you know, you need to, put your emails on a dove and send it out the window, it seems like, right? And so, and not that, you have to multiply the doves. You need to have 3,000 of them. You need to diversify them. So you also need to have pigeons combined with the doves, and then you also need to add some crows. It's just like, it's ridiculous what you have to do nowadays, right? And so we dove in, but even before that, right, I started a lot of this just because I was just an account executive, just making cold calls for a staffing company. And I would go like warehouse to warehouse in Reno, Nevada, just doing normal sales stuff. And this is only like, you know, beginning of 2020. And COVID happens. So we can't do that anymore. And my boss, and I send him a thank you note every year just because he got me started on this path. He was like, hey, can you, I know you're kind of techie and can like learn stuff. Can you figure out how to do like email marketing for everybody on the sales team to help them out right now since everyone's struggling? And I was like, for sure. And so I got fed an ad on Amazon, of all things, for a book called Cold Email Manifesto. And it was like a 40-minute listen or something like that. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's do that. Read through the book real quick. A guy by the name of Alex Bourbon, followed him on Twitter. And at the same time, something was happening with an email provider by the name of Zoho. So him and this guy, Jesse Olette, hop on like a Twitter live, and I watch it. And Jesse just casually mentions like, hey, I know I have a little course on how to set up a simple email infrastructure. If you want to join, go ahead. You'll also get an invite to a special WhatsApp group called the SaaS Yacht Club. And I was like, okay, cool. So I did all of those things, just started doing what he was doing, had this little sales job. And next thing I know, I'm sending 10,000 emails a day as a single salesperson. And everybody who's posting a job, within 24 hours, I'm getting an email directly to them about the job that they just posted. Meanwhile, all my coworkers are making 50 phone cold calls a day. And so I remember hopping on a call with my boss. And also, guys, at this time, like, whatever, I was giving them, I don't feel bad about it at all, because they were paying me for performance, not for my time. But guys, I started working like 5 hours a week. I'd check my automations on Monday. I'd go mountain biking with my wife. I mean, I remember like being at the top of a ridge in the middle of Moab. At the top of this hill, my pocket vibrates. I look down and it says, "You just booked a meeting." And I said, "Sick." And it was like 10 a.m. on like a Tuesday. And I just kept riding with my wife. So this was like 2021, just about. So anyways, my boss is like, "Hey, can we talk?" And I'm like, "Oh no, they're probably going to be mad that like maybe I'm not working enough." And then he goes, "No, you're actually like, we want to talk because you're the number one salesperson on the entire team, and second place has like half your numbers. So what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, great. This is going opposite of what I thought it would do." And so a few more things happened. I had buddies in WhatsApp groups that like needed help with stuff. And so I started getting like some certain gigs, and I was like, okay, like I can start taking these efforts and like multiplying out to other people. And so that's when I started Sales Automation Systems, beginning of 2023. We made it to about 70 plus clients before we started working with Adam. We worked with, we even like consulted like the Marines on some stuff. A few months ago, even when Reddit was going into IPO, we helped them with some of the preliminary advisory on their outbound infrastructure and things like that. So this has certainly grown, but we made it to about 70 clients just on referrals. And then that's when, RB2B and Adam kind of came into the mix, right? And so Adam, I'm actually going to throw it back to you real quick. Is that when you guys were launching RB2B, right? I'm curious, why did you guys even want to run cold email for it? Like, why did you think it would work well? Like, why do you, what's that core belief that you have that like a business should be doing cold email like anyways?
So like, I think that the time to do it is like, it was just clear that we had created through LinkedIn, like a huge amount of demand before we even launched the product for the product through this posting and wait lists and, DMs and discovery calls and all that. So in that regard, there was like an early product market fit, and we had zero penetration. And also with the offer that we created, which we validated through LinkedIn, it was an absolute killer offer. It was something that people didn't have that they thought they wanted that was free, right? And then on top of that, with all the posting that I've been doing, like most of the people we were hitting would have heard of me, right? So I would say like that was why I had who knows about cold email? It's these days, like, but like I hoped that you told me that it would work because of that, right? Like I'm like, I don't know. I remember when we talked, I was like, dude, like I don't even understand anymore. Like Diana was like when we were doing this in 2018 through 2020, she was like having a team in the Philippines manually build lists and then manually one by one send the emails out that then replies got routed back to our team in the States. And, we kind of never done anything different than that, but it was a huge part of our growth. I think what I realize now is that, that story had a lot of the same ingredients that my current one. I mean, we're in a mega transition phase right now, but like when you started emailing for us, a lot of those same ingredients were there. It was like killer product that people did not have, very good value proposition in like this world that we were hitting or whatever. So, and then Diana and I couldn't get our head around actually managing the infrastructure, which is why we wanted to go to you to find someone to help with that. we didn't know, I didn't know when we got hooked up that that was even an option, right? Like, and I don't know if you've,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Right.
that's
Well, like when we first met, it was like, cool, can we do infrastructure? And then I remember like halfway through our 50-minute conversation, you were like, can you just do all of it?
yeah, because Diana wasn't
And I was
working
like,
with us
totally,
at the time,
dude.
and this is not my wheelhouse,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
anyway. And
Yeah,
Santos,
which is super
Santos
funny.
is like he doesn't, he's not technically, he's not in there doing stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Like, very
He's
strategic.
orchestration and
Yeah.
completely different level
Yeah.
of expertise. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So hopping right back into it. So basically, let's see. So why was this working so well, right? I'll break it down into like there's 3 core things that I think you need to get right in order to do cold emailing properly right now, right? One is you need to have really good cold email infrastructure, but I'm going to make it very simple for you. You do need to have a killer offer. There's no way around it. One of my core philosophies right now is deliverability first, offer second. And we don't even take on clients where we don't think that there's going to be a good offer in place, right? But the last thing, and this one's almost even more important than the others, is that you need to test everything. And so we'll hop in a little bit more. So for cold email infrastructure, here's what we do, okay? This is kind of a joke. This is literally, I just started talking for like 2 minutes on like part of what we do. And I started filling out this whole page and I'm like, that's not going to work because we do a ridiculous amount of stuff because we send 4 million emails a day. We're actually going to come back to the infrastructure component later on down here. And I'm going to tell you exactly how it goes. But we do a lot to get deliverability as high as possible. For RB2B, here's the copy that we ran for them. And it's a really good example of copy. And we can kind of talk about, I think, why it is. But basically what we go do, right, is we launch a B2B tool that'll let you know when. And what we insert there is we use AI. And you can use this with tools like Claygent inside of Clay, where you can say, hey, visit this company's website and tell me who their ideal customer profiles are and list them as, the top 3 separated by a comma. And it'll spit out, we just launched a B2B tool that'll let you know when CEOs, founders, and blah, blah, blah are on your site. It identifies the anonymous people on your site, sends their LinkedIn profile to your Slack channel in real time. It's completely free. Respond back with yes if you would like me to send you a link to sign up. Here, what we do is we have an AI line that basically infers to them like how this tool could specifically help their business in relationship to their ideal customer profile. And so it'll say like a line like, so when mothers and fathers are on your site looking for baby bottles, blah, 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 or whatever. Then we go, P.S. I'm not kidding. It's an exact match to the individual, not just the company name. We won't charge you a penny. This isn't relevant to you. Just reply back with no. And so this is the copy. And the craziest thing about this copy is this was one of the first variants that we ever created. We did start adding an AI into the core concept, but these used to not be there. And we haven't really changed this copy at all since we started. And we've tried other copy as well in the meantime, and we're constantly trying new stuff. And nothing has beat like this first iteration. And the other thing that we did is I was using GPT at the time, and I basically uploaded a bunch of Adam's posts to it. And I said, I want you to try to get the vibe and like tonality and like the way of speaking of this guy, Adam. Here's the copy that I think I want to run with, like combine the two. And then I kind of went back and forth with the prompt. It got me like 90% of the way there. And then I did finally edit. So like my goal with this was also to just sound like Adam was actually talking, right? Which there's tons of evidence of that and data on that just on his LinkedIn, right? So it was really, really easy. The next thing that I think is really important that we did with them is that we're constantly testing different things. So like there's different buckets that you can test, and I believe in being having a scientific method when it comes to these things. And I'll come back to this idea a little bit more when we go into copy. But like when it comes to vibe, right? You can send a short and a punchy email. You can send a detailed analytical email. You can write a very casual email written by the founder. You can have an aggressive vibe. Like there's so many different vibes that you can do. And generally speaking, when we go to launch a new client for anybody we're doing growth generation for, where we manage their whole engine like we do with Adam, is that our first batch is usually we just want to test vibes. Just be like, hey, like is detailed and analytical going to be better for your audience or not? Or do we need to go a different route? And so that's usually where we start. From there, you can also experiment with things like sales triggers. So obviously RB2B, that is a sales trigger in and of itself. If someone visits your website, that's a trigger, right? Hey, saw you were on the website via RB2B, and then you can go into your pitch or whatever, right? Notice that you guys just placed a job posting for Y. Sales triggers can be different things there. Target lists can be really huge. So if you can get custom lists, one example is we have a client by the name of Amplify, spelled with 2 I's. They help people manage and create Amazon storefronts. And when we first started with them, it wasn't going good at all. Like typically for most clients, like the first 2 months, there's hardly any results because we're doing so much testing to figure out like what is actually working. And so we don't want bad ideas to stop us from finding the perfect idea. And so this client, we started experimenting with messaging. First 2 months sucked. Month 3 did great, and we got them 30 leads in a month, which is exactly what we try to deliver to them every month, is we get them 30. Then what we did is once we figured out messaging, then we doubled down on the best lists that gave us the best targeting. So what we did is we got a scrape of every vendor that was on this marketplace called Fair. We outbound to them, and then we got them 100 leads in a month, right? And so there's certain things where you can layer on each of these learnings as you're testing specific things to see which ones are better. And every time you kind of do different buckets, they can add multiples to each other, which is really powerful. Of course, there's the offer, which is just like the call to action. And we're going to have a few different ideas on offers and so on. The call to action, which is slightly separate. This one, there's not really too much nuance here. If you ask for a meeting, it's probably not going to work. If you try to deliver something valuable, it's probably going to work. And I'm going to go through some examples for you. And then, of course, you can have some fun by adding like different PS lines that can kind of move the needle or add a little bit of flair or whatever, right? So anyways, if you were starting today, what would I want you to focus on? You don't need to do everything that I do. Okay, what I'm going to go over with you here is stuff that I think you should do, but you have to understand, like I'm building a system right now called a Grandmaster Sequencer that will queue up leads. So we'll go, okay, we're going to send 5,000 leads for Adam today. We're going to analyze all of our deliverability over all of our emails that we're sending to figure out which campaign should these leads go into based on different configurations, like what sequencer do we use, what email accounts do we use, and what email accounts does the target customer use, right? All of those components we're basically loading in, and we take 90% of those leads and we put them in the best fit campaigns, and then we take 10% of leads and put them in all the other configurations, and that 10% feeds all of our data so we can constantly do routing. And we use multiple sequencers. We use about 7 different email service provider vendors. We diversify a ton. But once again, I'm about to start sending over 10 million emails a month. You do not need to do all of that stuff, and it can become very, very simple for you. So I think the 4 main things that you need, and actually I might throw in a 5th one here for just data that I think is really good. But the 4 main things you need for infrastructure are Smart Lead, premium inboxes, Hypertide, and Email Guard if you want to get even better at it. How premium inboxes works is they are a Gmail vendor. They're the best one that we've found, so much so that I'm actually happy to vouch for them here. They have really good automations in place. They do our builds sometimes in less than 5 to 6 hours. They load the accounts into our Smart Lead for us. It's super, super great. And so these are the settings that I suggest you have. You can just screenshot this. But basically, you have 20 warm-up emails. You want it to ramp up to that. You want it to warm up for 2 weeks. And then after that, you can start sending cold emails at 2 cold emails a day, and then ramp that up by about 2 cold emails every 2 days until you're at 20. So after about 10 days, you're going to be at the full volume, right? And then after that, you keep warm up on, and then you just continue sending from there. And so each email account, one more thing actually that I'll add here is you do 2 email accounts per domain. Oh, come on. 2 email accounts per domain, and then you'll be good, right? And so that's for your Gmail half, right? The other thing that I would do is set up Hypertide. Hypertide has a special Outlook and custom Enterprise Azure panel that they've set up. They're fairly new, and so they have some things that are a little bit shaky, but they have the best deliverability to people who are on Outlook or like enterprise accounts or things like that. And so they're really, really good for that. And then these are the settings that you do for them. And for them, actually, you will set up 99 email accounts per domain, or maybe it's 49. Yeah, it's 49. But they take care of all of that, so you don't have to like think about it too much. Okay. And so if you have this, right, if you have Smart Lead and then you have Gmail accounts and you have Hypertide, what the diversification does is like if Google changes a rule on you tomorrow and your Gmail account stopped delivering, you at least have some accounts that have been warmed up and you're still at like 50% capacity as you figure out what you need to rebuild, which it will change. And also little disclaimers that this is just what's working right now best. This stuff does change sometimes every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. It's a really annoying game. And so if you're ever too annoyed with it and you want to send more than 1,000 emails a day, like hit us up and we can like serve you potentially if you have a good offer, of course. The last thing that's really beneficial is if you use Email Guard, what you can do is you can enrich all of your leads and it will tell you, is your lead on Google or are they on Outlook or something else? And so if you want the best deliverability, what you can do is you can create separate campaigns. So for example, if I go in my Smart Lead account, you'll see these campaigns have Gmails that we're targeting with them because that's the best configuration that we've been finding for Gmail targets right now. And so with Email Guard, you can basically create campaigns where you just have your Google accounts, your premium inboxes accounts in there. And you can outbound to just Gmail accounts and just upload your Gmail leads to that campaign and then upload everybody else to the other campaigns that's using your Hypertide infrastructure. And you'll see your deliverability. You could add like anything between a 1.5 to a 2x multiple on your deliverability by just doing this trick, which is really cool. But once again, you don't necessarily need to do this, especially if you're small scale. You can really get away with just doing these 3 boxes. The other bonus that I'll throw in here is that if you need really good leads, a buddy of mine has a tool called Lead Magic, and they're the highest quality data that we've been able to find while also being like the cheapest. And so like we genuinely only use them for our data right now. And so that's another thing that I'd throw in here is if like you need leads or something like that, like they're really good for getting you really good data. Okay. So past infrastructure, and we will have a QA. So if I miss something there or whatever, you know, we'll be able to bucket it. But the most important thing of all this is going to be your offer, because you can have the perfect infrastructure in place, but if people report your message as spam, your domains are going to burn and nothing's going to work. Okay. And so how do we how are we going to solve this problem for this client, right? Which we just launched them a week ago. Once again, we're not worried about this client at all. We know we just have to figure out the offer, which most people, they don't have this problem in cold email. Most people, what their problem is with cold email is that they aren't even delivering their emails at all. So they don't even know if people like their offer, right? Like they're just throwing stuff out into the black hole of the aether and they just have no idea what's going on. We're here, at least we go, hey dude, 873 people took the time to reply to your email and let you know that they didn't like it, which as a founder is great. Like he's going to get really good feedback on, okay, here's what we can do. And we're continuing to A/B test and we'll figure it out for him. We have a 4-month window with every new client where it's just test until we find the winning combination. And at the end of the 4 months, if we didn't find a winning combination, they can walk away and go, you know, cold email just didn't work for my business, but we tried everything and we knew that deliverability was never the problem, right? So you can't talk about offers without talking about Hormozi and his books. I'm almost at the point where I feel like I need to require this as reading for clients as they're onboarding with us. And so if I'm like the 1,000th person to tell you to read these books and you haven't read these books, I'm sure if you're here, you probably have. But like everything you really need to know about offers is very much inside of this first book. And then copy stuff is sometimes in that second book. All right. So here's some examples of really good offers and what's been working for us like right now. And so this is a client we launched in November. Sent over 71,000 emails for them, have almost a 3% reply rate, which is great. We look for a 1.5% to establish a success metric. And then their positive replies are 20%, but this is for a company by the name of Fixer.ai. And so basically all they're doing is they have a free trial. And so we're just driving free trials, not even a freemium like we're doing for RB2B, but just a free trial. And it's still killing it for them, right? And so this is the copy that we're using for them. And what's interesting is that this copy is we had the founder write this copy, him and his brother. We're like, hey, if you guys would write copy, what would you do? Because once again, we just like to test everything. And their copy here is actually doing just as good as our copy here, which my copy is typically more like this. I like just being very short and punchy, very direct, not antagonizing people, and just trying to avoid a spam complaint as much as possible. Okay. And so
yeah, this is, by the way, that's very much how I would write an email too. Like as
this one right here, short
words as humanly possible. That's just my bias though, like you said.
Yeah, same. Well, and it's, you know what's funny about that too, Adam, is we'll have some clients will like, I'll roll out this copy to them and they have like a marketing background and they'll just to my face, they'll be like, dude, your copy's shit. I'm like, we'll see. And then we run the plays and I'm like, see, ours is doing better. And so it's interesting because like the marketing type people will kind of be, no, you need like fluff and you need, and I'm like, no, just your thing's valuable or it's not. Right. But also to their point, like this client, this one that's a little bit longer, I think there's something just powerful about like it actually being written in the founder's words. And so that's maybe my guess as to why this one is doing as good as this one. They're basically both getting a 21% reply rate, a positive reply rate on these. And so that's really interesting. So like if you have like a SaaS product or you have like a free tier or something, this is really important. I think I had this at the end, but I'm gonna pivot to it real quick. So you can kind of see these in the back of your brain as we go through some of these copy examples, is that some of the core things that I think make stuff good for copy is short and punchy is typically my go-to. Founder written emails can do really great. Making your call to action ridiculously easy will help you way more than adding friction, unless you need to add friction, of course. Have something that's actually valuable and then package it well. And so here's what I mean by package it well. Is we had a client at the beginning of this year. They actually churned because we got them too many leads, believe it or not. They got overwhelmed and they booked enough business to hit their goals for the year. And I think they just kicked it the rest of the year. I'll never understand why they didn't want to keep going, but who cares? But basically what this client does is they bought a website called medspas.com. And they're like, so we really want to be aggressive on medspas. And they were a high-end marketing agency where they would manage all of your social media accounts. They would manage all of your websites. They would build all your websites. They would do all of that stuff for you. And so part of what they would do anyways, is they would fly a team of photographers out to like your salon or whatever. And they would do a full photo shoot. So they had images for the website. So when we first launched for them, that's what we said. We said, hey, we're a full-end marketing agency. We're really great at what we do. Here's some examples of other companies that we've worked with. And also, we're so good at what we do that we fly a team of photographers out to your location and we do a full photo shoot. We're really high end. And those campaigns sucked. Okay. So here's what was crazy about them is that this campaign, all we did was we repackaged. We talked about what they did, but in a different way. And so what we did is we scraped every Instagram account that contained med spa in the description. And we also, what's cool about that too on Instagram is a lot of people actually have their email in the thing. And so we kind of got free emails by doing that as well. And then if we didn't find that, then we would waterfall and look elsewhere. But what we did is we said, hey, and we inserted their Instagram handle, saw you on Instagram, and we just bought medspas.com. And in order to celebrate for any new clients that happen to be medical spas, we're going to fly a team of photographers out to your location completely free of charge. Just reply yes if you'd like to learn more. Okay? They got a 20% reply rate, which is the highest we've ever gotten. Like, I'm freaking out that this guy has such good deliverability at 10%. We got a 20% reply rate on theirs, and 70% of their replies were positive. Okay, it's the best campaign we've ever run. And the most interesting thing to me about this is that we didn't change anything. All we did, and this is very much something that we picked up from Hormozy, right? Is like you can just repackage things. You can just talk about things in a different way. Where all we did is we took the most valuable thing that they were going to get if they bought, and we simply just presented that as the free thing if they chose to hop on a call with us right now, right? And this campaign just completely slapped for them. So I think this is a unique thing, is that oftentimes just how you present things. And once again, also like this is, I would call this short and punchy as well. I believe our first email was a very like, here's everything that we do. And it's like, no, just try different angles. And here's what we landed on for them. It's like, cool, let's take the most valuable thing and say that that's the free thing that they're going to get, which I think a lot of companies can do just generally. The last example I'll give you is for ourselves. If we were running Outbounds, here's what I would do, okay? Hey, Joe, looks like you sold a plumbers. I just built a list of 25 leads that are within a 25 mil mile radius of Austin, Texas. It includes like things like emails, direct phone numbers, and LinkedIn profiles. Just reply yes, and I'll send you over the Google Sheets link. P.S. It includes information like John Smith, who's the owner of Root Plumbing. His phone number is X, and his LinkedIn profile is Y. His email is this. And then this one I think would do really good. I actually want to A/B test with it. PPS, this entire email is written programmatically with AI at scale. So if there's something wrong, be sure to let me know about it. Right. And that one's really good just because I think it shows like expertise and a little bit of confidence with it. But once again, I got to A/B test that line to actually see. But it's something I thought of last night as I was actually writing this. And so once again, what are like the core things that I think stand out here is that like you have to test stuff. So like each one of these things is like this is a sales trigger potentially, or like relevance is another frame that you could think of, right? What is our core offer? Like what are we offering to do for them? Is it valuable, right? And then you can experiment with different PS lines. And the thing is, with tools like Smart Lead, you can have different variants. This is going to take forever to load, actually. Oh, no, it's not. So you can have different variants, so you can test each one of these things. So you can see here on this, like we're literally, I don't actually know what the difference is on these two, but you can see here, like we're literally just trying a slightly different call to action to see if that moves the needle at all compared to the other ones. This one's a long one, and then this one is one written by the founder. And so you can see we're just generally testing this vibe since we just launched this client today. And then we'll continue to like tweak slight things, and then you can actually measure the results on different variants and see which ones convert better, right? So that's really, really key. And so anyways, over the past 25 minutes, we've covered all these things, kind of what's our story. Why is our RB2B even thinking about this? Why has it been successful? We went specifically on why it was working for them and what exactly we've done for them over the last 6 months. And it's actually pretty simple. Like it hasn't been all that complicated. And then we've also gone over, like, if I was doing this stuff today, I was brand new, I was small volume potentially. What are the best things that I would be thinking about on top of that, right? And so that is it. I know we're going to have time for Q&A, right? And so I think we can hop right into that unless you have anything else, Adam. Yeah.
I have nothing else. That was fantastic, man. Yeah, let's hit it. Who's got questions? Or did you just cover it all so perfectly with it?
A quick question. So I really like the example of the copy that you're using to drive free trials. If you're in the position where the product had not launched yet and you're trying to build a wait list, what types of modifications, if any, do you think you would make to your cold outreach strategy?
You know, what's interesting is that we have, it's actually a sub-client. It's an agency that we've helped on their back end. And they were doing a similar thing where they were selling like a snowflake replacement or something like that, but they weren't actually selling it yet. They were simply just trying to get data. And they actually had a ton of success and continue to have success with just saying that. Like, hey, we're building a new thing. It's ideally going to do X, Y, Z. We'd like to get your feedback on it. And then if you can throw in like some sort of comp or like a thank you as a part of that, you can do that. And especially if you actually show up to the meetings in a genuine, you know, it isn't going to be a switcheroo to sell them on something. Those can actually be really effective if you want to get good information back on people and you're just like testing an idea.
When you say like offering them something, you mean like going like the gift card route or something like that? Okay.
I would stay away from the gift card route. I mean, like, you know, dude, like, hey, if this ever turns into a product, like, we'll give you like the first 3 months off or something.
Got
you know,
or you could say that you're farther along than you are at building it and have a launch date, and even if that doesn't materialize, you could be like, we're launching this in Q2. You know, we'll give you the first year for free for like feedback or whatever. You know, it's just so.
Yeah, that's true.
Point is, you know, if that offer is hot for whoever you're speaking to, and it's interesting enough, you know, you can create value that way, right? And really all you're looking for, I mean, all you're looking for at this point and for probably another couple of years is feedback, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So true.
Thanks.
Pete?
Yeah, hi. That was a brilliant presentation. Thank you. I just got a couple of quick questions. I noticed in most of those emails you'd got reply as opposed to clicking a link. I'm presuming that's for deliverability, so that you have less chance of going into spam next time. Does that necessarily affect the problem of going into the promotions folder, particularly in Gmail? I think that's one of the biggest problems that I've had throughout my career in the different things that I've been doing, is that it's delivered, but there's no way of knowing whether or not it's delivered into primary or promotions, in which case it may as well not have been delivered in many instances.
Yeah. If we're talking like a pure cold email, right? The thing is like, and even Google, they released a policy back in September where they said if you're tracking opens or you're tracking clicks, we're going to put you in the spam folder, right? And so there's certain things where we only send emails as plain text, and SmartLead actually has a setting where you can click a button and it'll force plain text out, so you don't have to worry about an error with anything. And so we don't track opens, we don't track clicks. Also, even if we did track opens and Google didn't suppress us, we still wouldn't do it because it's super inaccurate. Apple released an update with iOS 16 2 years ago that opens and clicks every single email anyways. In fact, I have a client that sells globally, and he was like, hey, dude, my reply rate or my open rates are all over the board. What's going on? And I was like, let's do a fun project. What country were you emailing with this one? What country were you emailing with this one? I'm not even joking. Within 5%, it was always, it was within 5% of whatever the margin of iPhone distribution was in that country.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's just like open rates are just completely useless. So anyways, no open rates, no click tracking, no links at all, no images, plain text. And so because we can't do links and we need to have opt-out messaging, we do the just reply no if you want to be removed or whatever. Because also the funny thing to me about unsubscribe links is like if I was going to phish people, I'd make the phishing link the unsubscribe link. I don't understand why someone hasn't done that yet and stolen from the world, you know?
So how do you automate then, if somebody replies, how do you automate the next email in the sequence based upon the reply? Because you don't know what they're going to put in the reply, do you?
I'm not sure. There's a couple tools on the market that have like an AI responder, but I haven't tested any of them. And a lot of our leads, a lot of our clients will either be, they just reply yes or no. And if they reply yes, we have an autoresponder that just sends them a script. Like that's what we do for RB2B. And then all of our other clients that don't fit that criteria, they will manually reply to all of the leads just through the master inbox anyways. And also SmartLead will have an auto categorization. So it'll categorize positive, negative, and things like that inside of the inbox. And so you can only get pinged when you have positives if you want it to be that way. So it's usually not bothersome and you don't have to sort through it either.
Okay. Thank you. That was brilliant. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet, man. Happy to help. Who's next? I think, did Diego have a hand up at one point in time or?
Yeah, I do. Sorry.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks, Taylor. Thanks, Adam. So can you repeat the relationship between SmartLead and the other two tools? Because I did see at the end that you were using SmartLead to send the email, but then it's unclear to me why you're using premium inboxes and how those two play together, if the question makes sense.
So yeah, so SmartLead is a tool that simply sends emails, but you need to give it email accounts to use. And so what most people do is they just take their work email account and then just load it in there and start sending. That that'll burn your domain really fast. And so it's not, and you'll just have bad deliverability that way.
Got it.
And so something like premium inboxes or Hypertide, those are email account providers. And they're like resellers is a more accurate term to use for them. And you don't have to worry about like building accounts or anything like that. You'll still have like if you weren't going to be sending more than 1,000 emails a day, I don't think your headaches are going to be enough to justify using someone like me or other people in the infrastructure space, where like we actually do like a managed service for all the infrastructure. Because like for someone like Adam, I think like we own something like 600 domains for Adam. He does not want to manage all of those and reconnecting accounts and all of that kind of stuff, right? But anyways, so premium inbox is just the email accounts, and so is Hypertide, where SmartLead is the thing that you put those email accounts in and they actually sequence the emails and you create your campaigns and upload leads and things like that.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Any other questions? Yeah, cool.
I mean, that sounds like a pretty good cold email 101, 201, 301, and 401.
Heck yeah.
Diego is raising his hand again.
Yeah,
What
might
is-
as well, right? No one's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jump on it. Yeah.
Second question. Thank you. What about sequences, right? You kind of like showed us a bunch of email openers, if you will, right? Like first emails. Do you ever do sequences where you reply or like, yeah?
I send one email. So here's how I'm going to think about it, right?
Like one and period, one and done?
Yeah.
Wow.
So here's why. So most people are like, oh, the average lead converts after 17 touch points. That's not actually true. I think it's called the 7-11-10 rule, where it's 7 hours of content, 11 touch points, and four channels. So most people hear just the first part and they go, cool, I'm going to send an 11-part sequence and I'm going to sell everybody. I don't think that works at all. And in fact, the weakness of sending a follow-up email, especially if it's threaded in the same email sequence, is when you send me an email and I didn't do the call to action, and then you send me another one 4 days ago, there's two things that happen. One is I go, dude, I'm too busy. I didn't have time for this 4 days ago. And now I definitely don't. You're going to email me again unless I just report you as spam, right? The other thing that I think is, well, your first email wasn't good enough, and so now you're sending a second one. And once again, I'm probably just going to mark you as spam. And this is purely within a cold email context. Marketing emails are completely different framing and mindsets and all of that kind of stuff. The other thing to keep in mind is that if I only have so much infrastructure, right? So for Adam, we have enough infrastructure to email 100,000 people a month, okay? We could email like 1 million people a month for him. So if we can only email part of his ideal customer profile, I can either send 2 emails to 50,000 people or 1 email to 100,000 people. Which one's going to give me more results? The 1 email to 100,000 people is going to give me more results. And so generally speaking, like this is obviously, there's exceptions. Generally speaking, one of my core philosophies right now with this AI at scale model is send 1 email to everybody in your ideal customer profile once every 3 months. And if you do that, you'll have a ton of awareness, especially if it's valuable stuff. If you aren't trying to push them for a meeting or anything like that, you'll just have tons of people that are aware, and you'll see a ton of people that just come in indirectly. Another thing I'll say on that note is that I was looking at my Cloudflare account the other day, and we have over 8,000 domains. We're currently driving 50 million website visitors every single day across all of our domains. So I have no idea what that is like per client, but like just think about how much awareness that is for like all of our clients just because we're sending cold emails for them, which is pretty crazy, So anyways, so yeah, we just send 1 email if we can. We will sometimes A/B test with like a follow-up email, but it's very rare that it actually hits and we decide to keep it and that it's worth sending over a first-time email. So good question though. I didn't even think about missing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Nico?
Hey, this has been awesome.
Awesome.
Expanding on our conversation we had like two weeks ago.
Yeah, happy to help, man.
Mind double clicking on the number of domains, like what exactly the trade-offs are there. I've definitely been weirded out by interacting with multiple domains for a same company where I'm not sure whether I'm like getting scammed when like I get an email from one domain and then the Zoom link comes from another one, and then it's like put your information into like a third domain. Mind kind of explaining the pros and cons there?
Yeah, well, I think the only issue there is once you've already established a connection with the company, if you then start seeing different email and domains, that's when it gets weird, right? So we've found that on the first email, it being from a different domain, it doesn't matter. And even before then, it gets normalized more and more every day because people know that this is the way that emails have to get delivered now. And so what we do is when a client replies, we coach all of our clients to immediately, when they reply back, CC their main inbox anyways, so it can transition to the regular work email. And then after that, you'll be on the same domain anyways. Also, the domain names don't matter at all, because they're going to click on the thing, they're going to visit your website, and it's going to redirect them to the website anyways that they need to go to. Like we've sold $1 million deals from domains that are like, can you please buy stuff from us, centralworld.com, and it works and no one cares. So a lot of the domain names don't matter too much. And to your point, I think the weirdness is if you were using different domains after you initially were talking to them. So.
Awesome. That's great to know. That's counterintuitive for sure that folks don't, behave differently if they receive an email from a domain that makes sense versus like
totally
one that's really counterintuitive. But
of course, and of course, there's also a, you know, you can't go too far with it. So like when we first launched Adam, half of our emails, my VA accidentally put an extra N inside of retentionb2b.com. So it was retention. And Adam's so well known that people immediately started emailing him like, dude, is this a phishing email? Because like they spelled your business name wrong. That was totally an F up on our end, and we fixed it really quick. But also on those campaigns, they only had like 10% less positive indicators than like our normal campaigns anyways. So it doesn't matter that much, but it can matter obviously if like you're blatantly like misspelling stuff or looking weird. So Mariano, did I see you raise your hand or get off mute for a possible question, or maybe not? Anyone else have any questions?
I might have just hit the unmute button by accident there.
No problem at all, man.
Sweet. If no one has anything else, thank you very much, Taylor. Oh wait, Nico, you have one?
Yes. How does the size of your market and the dynamics of the market affect your strategies? So like if you have like a very small set of potential customers who, like say you're selling to private equity firms or something like that, you know, those aren't going to like churn a lot versus another segment that churn a lot. Yeah,
I would do multi-channel. So I would say just do everything you can. Send them one email once every 3 months at least. Or I almost would be hesitant to even do anything more than that. I think once a month can get a little crazy. Maybe you can push even once every 2 months, just so they're aware of you or whatever. But like that's when like other channel, like, because the benefit of like a small potential TAM list is that if like there's less than 1,000 people, like you can sure as heck connect with all 1,000 of those people and publish content that markets directly to them, while also sending them an email once every 2 months. That's just valuable stuff, and you're not annoying them or asking for time, right? If you do that, then like you're just kind of building just general goodwill, and the more valuable and the less, a lot of it just kind of goes to the general principle from Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Of just give, and then don't ask until much later. And so I think all of those things can just help within that context. But one email every 3 months will be really healthy and not overwhelm or burn your TAM or anything like that.
To kind of take it back to sort of like maybe the context that I have. So we're like our customers are creditors in Chapter 11 bankruptcies. So interesting thing about that is, one, when the bankruptcy gets filed, all those emails are available, but also a bankruptcy sort of ends after 6 months to 3 years. And so those customers are like not, they kind of like die for all intents and purposes. They like go away. So
yeah, I would hit them harder for sure.
I can still like hit them harder, like in that case.
Yeah. If you have a window, like who cares if you burn that lead, because they're going out of business anyways too, right? So
that's right.
Yeah. In that context, very different. Cool. All right.
Sweet. Well,
I think we're set.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.